Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to just hear a story and learn more about how to navigate a marriage when a wife earns more than the husband. Interesting, right? Yes, let's talk. Show Day is happening at Canary Hotel, and Canary Hotel has some amazing offers for you. Every Sunday, Canary Hotel has something called Paint and Chill. Now, Paint and Chill happens every Sunday from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Adults pay 70,000 and children pay 50,000. Now, these are activities that you can do with your spouse to create that bonding moment. Please try them out. And this includes a welcome drink, all art materials and tools. You can take the masterpiece home, and it comes with games and karaoke as well. Now that's a way to spend time with your family. Try out Canary Hotel today. It's located on Chira Road. You won't regret it. All right, to have this amazing conversation, I have a lovely couple here. Woo-hoo.
Come on.
Guys, welcome to the channel.
Thank you.
I love the energy.
So happy to be here.
Amazing. All right, tell us who you are, what you do, and then we can start from there.
Awesome. Well, my name is Nelson here. My friends call me Nell. I lead the collective UG. This is my beautiful wife. Hot, young, the child, not the child,
the wife of my youth.
Yeah. That's what happens. When you're around me, even the brain takes a bit of a pause. I have to put more effort into thinking.
Good to have you, Nelson.
Sharon Muhire, married to wonderful Nelson John Muhire. We have been married for about 11 years.
Wow.
Making 12 next year in February. We have 3 beautiful biological children. Annabelle, who is about 10 years old. She's 10 years old. And then we have Elijah, who is 8 years old. Israel, who is 6 years old. Yeah. It sounds like we did time, but we really didn't.
You spaced well, eh? You were just like targeting.
Okay.
I did nothing.
She did all the work, eh? Okay.
Planning of children.
Okay.
So yeah, we have 3 beautiful children, but we have so many other children who are not biological who we work with.
Yeah.
And the collective UG.
Yeah.
What do? I studied land economics on campus, which is in real estate. So I work with a company called Nightfrack, Uganda Limited. In that position, I do occupier services and commercial agency, which is more of like what people would call brokerage services, like brokers, but for offices, but corporate broker.
She's a broker, not a broker. A broker.
All right.
Yeah, but in the office space, warehousing space, and land in that aspect. So that's what I do professionally to make a living, mainly. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And Neil, you've talked about you lead collective.
Yeah.
Please, we are confused. What is collective? Tell us
collective
more.
UG.
Yeah.
The collective UG is a youth ministry that exists to help young people find purpose in God for life on earth. And basically, that means we are discipling young people. We're always looking for an opportunity to be part of a young person's life, help them answer the big questions if they have any. Most importantly, give them a community to be part of as they grow and as they wander through the dynamic past of life. That they will know God and that they will trust Him to lead them in all things. Yeah.
Amazing. From what I'm hearing, it seems like this is ministry.
It's ministry.
It's ministry.
Yeah.
You know? And I just want to go back a little. When you guys were deciding to get married, did you know, Sharon, that he was going into ministry? Because those are some of the things, girls can be looking for, as a guy, what does he do? And all these things. Did you know?
Did I know? Yes and no, I guess. Because when I go to, I've known Nelson, I guess, for a very
20
long
years.
Wow.
We've known each other for 20 years.
2005.
2004.
2004,
Well, it was
okay.
like December, November. No,
December.
2005.
2005. Yeah,
February,
2005.
March.
So that's like 19.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Almost
so-
20 years.
Wow.
And from when I knew him, well, he was in church space. I found him at All Saints and the like, and he was in ministry. So I knew first of all, that ministry was part of something that he was passionate about. And the like, well, he used to play in the band at church at the time, I think.
Yeah.
Then at some point
I was learning how to play the guitar.
he was learning how to play the guitar, but he was, at that time, it of course sounded like,
But there were no guitarists, so the learners were the guitarists. Not to the other guys, but yeah. Let's just say I was there also.
Okay.
yes, and I think during that time, because we're really good friends, there was a band that we were a part of.
That we started.
Ooh. It's okay. Don't be humble. So you started the band.
Well, with a group of other people.
Yes.
Just one of them as
Well,
well.
this is exactly how it happened.
Mm-hmm.
This one day, I call Sharon. I say, hey, I need to tell you some interesting stuff. I think I came to your room in Africa Hall. Yeah, she was in Africa Hall. Said, hey, there's some stuff I need to share with you. Let's go to Wandegea. There's this restaurant there called Burger Corner where we sat. There was another guy among us called Victor Smith. So the three of us went and sat down. I told him, man, I have this dream of this band. We'll write songs.
Yeah.
We'll sing. Let's study together. Sharon said, are you sure? Okay, let's do it. And you know where all our band meetings were? In her room, Africa Hall. So we started it.
It's okay.
And she was the original host.
Amazing.
Yeah, there were quite a number of people that joined the band. I
Yeah.
think at some point we were like 30 or 50.
It was a choir band.
It's not a band.
It stopped being a band very quickly. It became a group.
But as a backup singer, I think. So, but it was part of something that we used to do together.
Yeah.
And it continued on for like during our whole campus life.
Yeah.
So I think maybe just to answer your question, that I guess, and I honestly found fulfillment in that. And I think coming from a background where I was Catholic, I come from a Catholic background. I got saved in my S3 as in a Muslim school, interestingly. So now when I started S6 VAC, I had a very good friend, one of my very good friends who actually I walked with my journey of salvation, introduced me to All Saints Church. And I remember I used to work, so sometimes I would come and say, for my day off, I'm going to go to All Saints to attend, what was it?
TFC. C4C.
C4C.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how we met, and ministry was part of something that we did together. So when I think about it, it was not something that I thought, I knew it would be part of it because he was quite passionate about it. We were passionate about it.
But you didn't know it would be full time. Did you know?
Did I know it would be full time? Honestly, not. I knew it would be something that is part of our lives, but not completely full time because we went to study. We went and did, audio engineering.
That was the second one.
Hey, what was the first?
First did civil engineering.
Hey, and you finished civil.
Then it refused.
Oh.
Go away. What are you doing here?
refused.
You don't belong here.
Then you did audio engineering.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was your dream when you were growing up? Like,
Well, I had a series of dream phases. In my S3, I read Gifted Hands by Ben Carson.
You're
and I
like,
decided
I'm
I'm
going
going
to
to
be
be
a
a
surgeon.
neurosurgeon.
That book has caused problems.
It has caused problems.
Eh.
And so in my A-level, I studied physics, chemistry, math, and biology. But then it didn't take long for biology to say, you don't belong here.
Yeah, I don't know
I
you.
don't know you. I don't want to know you.
Yeah.
Stop dying on me. Hey, so yeah, the dream changed to engineering. And it wasn't really a dream. It was more like, well, my dad's an engineer. My big brother was already studying to become an engineer, an electrical engineer. So I was like, well, I'll be an engineer, just not like my big brother who was electrical, I'll be civil. Because I thought my dad was a civil engineer. I was wrong. He was
He's
an
electrical.
engineer.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's how I ended up saying, okay, let's try civil engineering.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went to campus, did civil engineering. It said no.
They said no to you.
I completely flunked out of it properly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So.
Then music found me in that confusion. Yeah.
Okay.
And so sound engineering came as an option, so I studied it. Yeah, now I'm a pastor.
No. Okay. And you were telling us earlier that you had mentioned something that you would never marry. You would never be a pastor's wife. First, tell us more about that.
Well, I think my perception of what a pastor's wife was something that I was not ready as. Like, I think because my personality, I'm a bit introverted.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, people come to your home, people come and tell you all their problems. I don't know if I have the grace for that.
Solve them.
Like a pastor's
Very
wife, there's a certain responsibility that comes with being a pastor's wife, which I didn't think that I would ever be ready for. I've not come in a family where my family, no one was a pastor. I don't know. I know my dad tried to be a seminarian. Those Catholic things, but he dropped out. Yeah. But that was the closest I guess I would have. But I was like, I can't be a pastor's wife. And I remember I told Nelson, I don't be a pastor's wife.
I don't remember.
Of course, he doesn't. Selective.
I remember, I know, right? Okay.
Yeah, but I was like, I really don't want, because I was like, that responsibility. It's too much. And I don't know if I can manage it. But as life knows it, you plan and God laughs. So you're like, in hindsight, now here I am, pastor's
a very
wife,
amazing pastor.
And you do it well. Such a great job.
God's grace is very sufficient.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, now you enter marriage. I'm imagining you've started, one of the things we ladies think about is the man should be a provider. I mean, like, of course. Where is the money going to come from? Did you ever have that discussion of, okay, if we're going into ministry, what's happening? And what about the role of provision?
Yeah, so I think at the time, I would be correct, though it was a transition, because at the time it was a band. We had a band when we were on campus. Yeah. And then Nelson went away and the band stayed. But of course, as you can imagine, when people are moving out of campus, people start transitioning. Yes. So the band broke off and things like that. So at the time when we were getting, it evolved, I would say. It didn't die completely, but it was really not as active. And I think, the main man who was handling the things was not around. So when he came, at the time, I remember, because he had done audio engineering, he opened a studio. So like one of the sources of income is going to be for him. He's going to do his studio stuff, things that he has done. He's passionate about it. So in my head, I was like, we're all startups. Even me, I just started working, I think at the time. Not at the time.
You'd been working for some time.
I'd started working in 2009.
Yeah.
Like in late 2009, though I graduated in 2010.
Yeah.
And we got married in 2013. So I was working, not making as much money, but it could work. And Nelson was also had the studio. So sources of income were not something that I was thinking about. I was like, how will we make ends? I was like, the studio is going to bring money. It's going to make money. We're going to build this thing together. I'm also going to work, and our family is going to be fine. We're not yet there, but we shall get there. So that was the mentality I started with in terms of work. And the ministry, Collective UG as we know it, I think it became quite serious in 2015.
It started in 2015. The idea of it came in 2014. Yeah. We shifted the band. So the band that remained together, we kept doing ministry. We were still doing ministry school. Not so different from what we're doing now, only that it was a band. Yeah. But shifting to the Collective UG was now turning it into an inclusive ministry, which people could become part of. And that meant people would be coming in more. That would be 2015 when we made that shift. And hit the road running. We didn't waste time. Became serious quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, like when you're in the marriage, and obviously now you're working, so you're bringing in more income. I don't know what happened to the studio. Did the studio ever make any money? Did you shut it?
No. Actually, we closed the studio early 2015 and reopened in August because we were moving. So after we started the collective, we also had our eyes set on the space where the studio is right now. Previously, we had been renting in Wandega. And so the expectation was that the place would be ready almost immediately. And we didn't want to renew the rent contract So we're like, okay, we're going to move out now when the contract has expired. It will be like a month and the other place will be ready and we'll move in. And then the other place wasn't ready until August of 2015. So February to August, there was no studio and the ministry had also just started.
Yeah.
So it was properly, this is a foretaste of things to come. And without like a plan, that wasn't the plan. It just happened to work out that way. Yeah.
So did you guys have a conversation about money at some point? Like, what are we going to do?
I think Sharon tried to have the conversation.
She tried.
Yeah. And I refused.
Tell us more. Why?
It was too difficult to have. It was too difficult to have. I didn't have answers to these questions. I just knew that this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, that particular period of our life, 2015, February to August, was properly, not to August, February to July was properly tough because I still had business coming in because I had clients who I could work with. Just, I didn't want them to come home. So we have to be able to work online or something. Not so much online. Internet wasn't fast like that, but I'll send you the thing and we'll talk remotely, you know?
Yeah.
So I still had a little bit of work coming in, but not as consistently as when the studio was open. So the money was significantly less. We had a child who at this point was 6 months old.
Yeah.
There were many days we didn't have diapers. Or we'd buy like small packs, you know, like 8 packs, you know, those happened. We did some pretty incredible broke stuff.
Yeah. So, from your perspective, how was it
in those days?
What questions were you asking and what was going through your mind in that time?
What was going through my mind at that time? I was like, God, this is not what I signed up for.
It's not.
Yeah.
But my vows, I'm here.
Yeah.
Fuck a last.
Yeah.
So I remember, of course, there was a lot of questioning of, where did we see ourselves? Did we see ourselves here? But anyway, we have each other. Let's figure it out. It was honestly a difficult time, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Annabelle, I think even at some point I got an accident.
She had a border accident.
I got a border accident. I was like, God, this is not time to even have
A
extra
short distance from
expenses
home.
and things like that. So for me, it was, yes, there was honestly a lot of questioning. I questioned a lot of, God, really, where are we going? But you said you're going to provide. I remember one of the things I learned much later than, I think it was a process, I would say. God takes us through seasons for a reason. It's something that I've come to appreciate, that challenges are there to grow you as a person. So at that time, I don't think I was mature enough to understand that that's what was happening. But I questioned a lot, of course. I used to be like, it's hard, but we're going to get out of this. We shall get out of it. As soon as we maybe move, things will get better. Because now we'll have a space for the studio. I just need to hang in there. It's just a season that we are going through. It's just a season we're going through. Once we move, things should get better. His business will pick up because now he can't work. And God has blessed me that I have a job, so let me work. And I think because I just come out of maternity leave, which was good, but still challenges were there. But I think God gave us the grace. God gave me the grace, and the hope for the future, I think, was something that gave me courage to take every day as it came. Are we going to eat Rolex today? It's okay. Annabelle is going to take
We
New.
never ate Rolex.
just
saying.
Just putting it out there.
Rice and beans, which we still do up to now. We actually enjoy it. My son's favorite thing is like rice and beans. But I think the hope for the future was something that I think gave me courage to take every day as it came. And Nelson is also a very sweet talker.
He's sweet
to be like, we are going to do
things
this.
are going to work out.
They're like,
start from here.
I think
shall pass through here. All is going to be well.
He likes saying he's a forger, and he's really a forger. I'll be like, Sharon, things are going to work out. Like what? It's going to work out. God is going to provide. We're going to get out of this. So I think having a man who gives you
the hope,
the hope.
You need the hope sometimes.
You need the hope.
You know? And Nell, just to maybe ask you, you know, so for so many men, the role of provision is kind of their identity.
Yeah.
And then when you're not making that kind of money, or you're not
Yeah.
providing the
Yeah.
way you thought you would, or the way your wife thinks you should,
Yeah.
it can affect either your ego or your identity, and
Yeah.
then it becomes a problem in the marriage.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that?
Well, for me, I've struggled through a lot of failure in life. Like I said, I flunked out of school. And so my relationship with failure, we kind of grew close to each other in that campus time because I properly failed. You've never failed in school. You've always graduated to the next class. And now you're supposed to be at the finish line, and the finish line has said no. And I sat home for 3 years. That means my brother, who's 2 years younger than me, graduated while I haven't done anything yet. You get it?
Yeah.
And so with that kind of being my background, I kind of I think something grew in me, because through that failure, God still worked out a series of things that led me to find audio engineering. And even when I was there, how I got there was a series of miracles. We couldn't afford it at the time of applying. Just many things were saying, you don't belong here. But God made it possible. And then even while I was there, how I was sustained there, the gifts that God gave to our family to make it, a lot of things possible, the people I met, and then the instruction of God that found me there. There was just a lot of learning that happened through that failure in my life, such that when we got married and now we're going through another form of struggle, for me, the choice was simple. I need to just find God where he is and go there now. And that period that we're talking about, my favorite scripture that I learned in that period, my scripture was Romans 5:3. It said, not only that, but we rejoice through suffering, because suffering builds perseverance, perseverance builds character, and character builds hope, and hope will not disappoint. Some versions say, and that hope will not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured out.
Yeah.
What I used to do on many days, I would wake up, put on earphones, have the Bible playing, and just walk for hours, and then go back home. And then look at Annabelle and say, so how are we? And then go to the bedroom, look for coins to go and find chapati or something, like to figure it out.
Yeah.
Now look, weren't like broke. We had enough to pay the rent and enough to have normal meals. But then outside of that, there was no room for anything.
Yeah.
But we've just started a ministry, the collective, and we have outreach on Sunday, and somehow cars need to have fuel, and the bar needs to go. And, it's like the tension was so thick. And in all of that tension, I was constantly needing to make the choice to prioritize moving resource into the ministry, which would have brought even more more tension into the equation. But for me, the thought was, we just need to be where God is. And so the few times that I was courageous enough to talk about it with Sharon, and I'm saying the few times because the courage wasn't always there. A lot of days you feel like, you know what, I have failed. I'm failing. Yeah. Am I failing? Haven't I failed? Am I making a bad choice? I think I've made a bad choice. I think we're making bad choices. Those still happened, and like really loudly.
Yeah.
But the few times I would say, babe, you know what? God's got this. We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. Remember how he got us through that thing? We'll get through this thing. We'll get through. Meanwhile, the reason's thinking, I don't know how we're going to get through it, but you just have to believe it.
Yeah.
I have no choice now. We're already here. Yeah.
So from what I'm hearing, you're saying from the few times you are able to have that conversation, So does that mean it affected your marriage in a way? Sharon?
Definitely.
Well, that's very interesting. Yeah. Yes, I think I would say just like, how can I explain it? Marriage it's a journey. So I think even finances are things people talk about. I think one of the challenges, we didn't talk about it much when we were dating. It was something I think we didn't overlook into. I think first of all, we're in a long distance relationship. We're all lovey-dovey. We talked about serious things, but finances wasn't
there.
Wasn't that how are we going to pay for the school fees for the children and things like that?
Yeah.
So yes, of course, it did cause tension, friction. But I remember there was a time I think I talked to a friend of mine, and then I think as we were talking, we came to the realization that one, God is the source of incomes. Like, first of all, I'm privileged that I can work to provide for my family. And first of all, when I even made my vows, it was for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer. With all I have, I remember, with all I have, I give to you. I'm not giving half of what I have. I'm giving my everything. All of it is ours. And it comes from God. So understanding that, would I say that I fully understood it then? No. But realizing that this is our income. It's not my money. Nelson has to figure out how to get us money. God has blessed us with a job. The job has been through me. We thank God for that. And we're going to be able to make the family we'll survive as a family and figure it out. If God provides through him, he had also a job. Like, of course, because the nature of his work is not that it's like mine where I'll get a salary. His was, this month is dry, or 2 months, and then things like that. And I was like, we thank God for that. Because then his money would come and be like, yeah, we're rich this month.
Let's go for a vacation.
Let's go for a vacation. Are we planning properly? No.
Let's go and eat life.
And things like that. And also understanding, I think, our temperaments was something that I realized that, like he mentioned, on the few times we'd have those conversations earlier on, Nelson would avoid. When it comes to, we don't have to talk about what
he's running away.
I'll be like, Lord, my man, we need to talk about it. And I think I understood where he was coming from, but it was also a bit frustrating. And I remember I told God, you brought us together for a reason. And I'm not fighting him. This finances is not going to be our issue. But give me the grace or the patience to be able to, when he's ready. Because sometimes it was difficult for him, but it was also difficult for me. But understanding that, let me give him the patience or the grace. When he's ready to talk about it, we'll talk about it. So you wait like a month. Are we ready?
No. Nelson, did you ever get ready? At what point did you get ready?
Also just maybe to add more to the tension, is that coming from different backgrounds, we have a different relationship with money. And so I want to say this in a measured way. But so my thing was that while we had these challenges, my thing was that we have help. So I'm going to go and find help, and we're going to get out of it. And Sharon's thing was, no, we don't need that help. We need to figure it out. And that's where the real tension for me was coming from, is that I have solutions that you're not accepting.
You don't want them.
You don't want my current solutions. You want a solution, and again, she wants a real solution because she's thinking big picture, long term. Me, I'm thinking, okay, let's deal with today's problem today. Tomorrow will worry about itself. And so failing to use the appropriate language to understand each other put us in a position where I'm like, you know what, let's just not talk about it, because there's nothing to talk about. That was the tension that I felt in those days. But yeah.
And which help were you saying? Like talking to other people?
Yeah, just like the rest of our family. Like, look, we're in a bit of a tight spot. Can you
Support
bail
us.
us out?
And for you felt like that's temporary, or why didn't you want that kind?
Yeah, well, I think at the time, I was like, it's temporary. If it keeps being, if we allow it to be the solution, we're going to come off as a burden. Like, what is our long-time goal in terms of, so we're not going to go to, today, now next week, what is going to happen? What will happen?
So that's the tension. And in a moment of need, you can just completely miss what you're both saying, and yet you're both trying to solve the current issue and move the family forward. And I think that's where the real barrier to our communication came from in those days. Yeah.
And now for Sharon, for you, you know, these days we know when a woman is earning more, I mean, how do you submit properly when, you know, the guy is not, yeah, you feel, you know, there are women out there who are earning more and they don't want to know your jazz, you know. So how has submission been like in this sort of relationship where you might have more money?
How has submission been? I think for me, submission wasn't an issue in regards to how much I earn, honestly. For I knew that submission, well, I'm submitting to God first and foremost, because, you know, the Bible tells us submit to one another, but we're submitting to God first. So I was like, I'm submitting to God first, and then to my husband. And him not having more money during different seasons of our lives didn't make him less of a man or anything like that, you know. So I was like, for me, honestly, I think submission was not an issue, though I know sometimes it came out in different ways, maybe which he could express, but I felt like that was not an issue. Like, no, he's still my husband, I can still submit to him. He's the leader of this home. He's guiding us in the right way. I can trust that wherever he's taking us is good enough. And also I think understanding that we all have different strengths. I realize that now finances may be a difficult discussion or thing that Nelson doesn't enjoy, but maybe given that God has given me as a burden, I can take it on. So, and when we can get together to be together in terms of finances, God will be able to guide us in that journey. So I realized that, one, financially, I'll take on the responsibility of trying to plan for it.
Yeah.
I would engage him. I would try to tell him all my plans, like let's talk about it and things like that. He came on slowly. You know, God's, like, I think marriage, and it really brings out the worst and best in you. So, and those seasons are some of the seasons that make you get better. So for me, submission, I wouldn't say was an issue. It was just learning how to navigate how, in terms of finances or raising our family and the like, and realizing that the strength God has given me may be what God wants me to use for our family. And the strength that he has, God is using them for our family. Let's not try to bicker and try to pull things which are not in him, yet I have them. You get what I mean? And I think also the other thing was, there was an expectation, I would say honestly, earlier in my marriage, where I thought that, I don't know if it's just me, I think it's generally for women, or maybe all of us, where I think this man should have everything, you know? And then I come to realize that God, he can never have everything. He can never fulfill me. He'll never be able to fulfill me however much I want. It's only God who can fulfill me. And I'm putting such a burden on him, yet he's human. He's human, he's going to make mistakes. And I need to embrace that and also embrace myself. And let's walk this journey together. And let's agree on what we can agree. We're going to journey together. What we have not yet agreed to, God is going to give us the grace to.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And Nell, you see, when it comes to leadership in the home, you mentioned it was a bit tight, like having the conversations. You must have had things going on in your head. Am I failing? Am I doing this? Did it affect the way you led the family?
At home?
Yes.
So it definitely did affect some decisions, but the general season of my life in that year, 2015, going till 2017, is I went onto this journey of well, it's still ongoing, but like that particular one went through a series of tests around leadership, where at some point, even the ministry was not making sense. And so you're like, okay, there's a lot of tension at home around certain things. And even when the studio reopened and money was coming in, there were still tensions about what's a good decision, what's a bad decision. And of course, she's now beginning to feel like, okay, has the ministry become a bigger priority than our home? That is a feeling which, I mean, if you're fair about it, it just comes. You've not done anything to suggest it, but it does come. And now, because it's something important to you and you're talking about it. And so now you're caught up in the tension of like, okay, you feel that way, I understand that, but it's also not working, like things are going south there.
Yeah.
Everything is going south. And I don't know if we're going to manage. Man, it was a struggle becoming a leader, and embracing that responsibility that comes with it, to be visionary, to be able to provide guidance and say, you know what, if we do this way, maybe we could see this, maybe we could go there. That was really hard. But ultimately, we got through that season. It's in the past now, and it became a huge learning opportunity to learn to become a better leader, to learn to become a better communicator, communicating in a sense where you stop and listen and you say, what are you really trying to say? This is what I'm hearing you saying, but what are you saying, Because that was part of the problem, is you're hearing words, but you're interpreting them circumstantially and differently. So what are you saying? What are you really trying to say? And why are you thinking about life this way? Why am I thinking about it differently? All those things, I had to learn how to consider them in order to lead. And that even now, as we live right now, we still have those kinds of new challenges, but they are looking for the same solution, which is communication that comes with understanding. We are talking about the kids' school. No, let's do this curriculum. No, let's do this curriculum. No, let's go to this school. Let's go to this school. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, what are you really trying to say?
What
Trying
to communicate, but what
I'm hearing the words you're saying,
What are you saying?
but what are you saying? What does it really mean? Because one of the things I've now learned as a father, as a husband, as a leader, is if I'm going to paint a picture of a preferred future for us to grow into, and that is our vision, I need to be able to communicate in a way that not only will you understand what I'm saying, but you also see it as a solution to the current problem that we are seeing. And we're seeing the same problem. And we're on the same team. And this is an option that we could take. Among other options, and I think we could go here. That learning how to communicate has been like a big, big constant lesson for me through all of that. Yeah.
And did you have any support to help you through this season? Not financially per se, but like to help you to have these conversations. If Nell cannot have them, is there someone to brainstorm so that you guys reach some sort of understanding? Like, did you have that kind of support?
Not really. Not at the time. Not really. Not at the time. I think we fought our way through it. We fought through it, disagreed, agreed, disagreed, agreed, disagreed, agreed, disagreed, agreed. Where we are now is much different because on both of us, we've both learned to listen more. So Sharon listens more, I listen more. We've both learned to measure how we say certain things. And I'll say, like, look, man, while I say we fought through it, the reality is we didn't fight around the things that mattered the most, the values. We fought around processes, you know what I mean? So it was really awesome to wake up with the confidence that I've not been rejected by my wife. It was really, really awesome to know that and have that not on the table for discussion. Like, I've not been rejected, I'm not unwanted. That was a constant. And because that was true, the process is what we're fighting about. Maybe if we do this, maybe if we do the other, that's what we're disagreeing.
But she was there.
But she was there. I had no doubt that her priority was to help us to move forward. Now, I don't know if she doubted my priorities. That is hers to discuss. But that was then. We fought through it. Now we're in a different space. We have more people around us. We have more people that we can exchange some conversations with. We can consult around different things. That's not to say that we don't still fight around processes 100%. But a lot has improved over time. But at that time, we're
Things
properly
like that.
forging on our own.
Okay, so what was the hardest part about this? What's the hardest part about this whole journey? Then, now, what's the hardest?
What was the hardest? Maybe just you had asked about, was there support earlier? I know Nelson said we forged it and things like that, but I know also one of the things that helped, I think, in the process was, whereas I feel Nelson didn't talk much, I used to talk.
When you were talking?
Yeah, I was talking, I would be telling, I think sometimes I'll tell my friend, there's a friend of mine called Faithful, I'll be like, Faithful, here, there's fire, let's pray for me. I don't know, but we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
She'll be like, no, Sharon, no, what is, I'll be like, and I think like, because we're among the first few that got married, sometimes you're sensitive about, should I share? How much should I share? Then you're like, should I share with my mother? Then I realized, those are boundaries. If you cross, they'll give a certain picture of your husband, which you do not really want. Undo anything like that. So I used to talk to some of my friends, not necessarily give them all the full detail. Sometimes I would be like, just pray for me. Even I think a friend of mine called Grace and things like that. And also family. I think in support, like Nelson's parents, kakas, they're the best. I don't know how people live without kakas, but they were such a strong support. Siblings, brothers and sisters who would support, like, you're like, this time I don't have. I think sometimes it would even be a mimic of, I think I want my kids to eat nice food. Let's take to kaka.
Yeah, they always have.
That's what you did.
Sometimes I'm like, kaka.
I didn't know.
You thought she was just giving that.
But no, but honestly, that was okay. Not the real reason.
Among the reason.
It was among the reasons sometimes, honestly. I'll be like, and Annabelle, my daughter actually can be like, I think sometimes she has this thing of her. Sometimes if I go to Kaka's home, I may enjoy better meals than what is at home.
Yeah. Really?
But appreciating what is there. I
think Sharon is just expressing her feelings, but not her reality. Yeah, you know, like how sometimes you can feel like something is the way it seems, but that's not really how it is. Because I can't think of a day that we weren't eating really good food at home.
Sharon, the one who knows.
No, she's the one who knows. But like I've said, it's her perspective. Me, I'm the consumer.
So it was nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
it wasn't nice.
We try to do the best.
Let me tell you something, Lisa. We host so many people at home. You put out a poll, they'll tell you eating at home is problematic because Sharon's bar is too high. It's too high. I actually have a blog I wrote in 2015 that said the best chicken I ever ate was made by Sharon. And then people kept asking, where is her recipe? Where is her recipe? Now the many people who have tested it, if you ask on your Instagram, you guys have eaten Sharon's chicken, how is it? They'll tell you.
I want to taste it now.
Pressure.
You do.
Wow.
You do.
Yeah.
Standard.
Yeah.
Very high.
No, I think I was just talking about it like before, in those difficult times.
Those difficult times.
But I think the support, even just talking to your siblings would be an encouragement. That, Sharon, this is just the season, and things like that. Sorry, I forgot the question you asked.
The hardest part about the journey.
The hardest part, I think, managing conflict. I would say, like how the conflict was inevitable, like how we managed conflict was sometimes difficult. But then I remember there was a friend of mine who once said that, conflict is a good thing because dead things don't bleed. So I was like, what? Dead things don't bleed? It's like, dead things don't bleed. If this is really getting to it, means that you're alive in this marriage. You should appreciate the fact that you're concerned about it. So it's the fact that it's conflict, you're agitated about it, your marriage is not dead. It's alive and it's a healthy place to be. So work at it. You know what I mean? Work at it. See how best you can move forward. And God is able to give you the wisdom to be able to navigate these things. It's just a season. That verse that he mentioned, that trials are there to bring you to improve on your character, hope, and hope which does not fail. So conflict, I think, would be one of the hardest things. but God has given us the grace to be able to manage it. Are we there yet? No. I think marriage is a journey. Conflict is going to always come. It will never end. It's always there. But managing new conflicts are there because different seasons come. Now the kids there were babies. Now they are. He's about to go into this. She's about to go to secondary school and things like that. So I think conflict would be one of the hardest things I think that was there. It's much better than it used to be 10 years now, 11 years now. But I think understanding that conflict, yes, you're bleeding because you're alive in this marriage and you're going to be able to work through it with God as your help. I remember when we got married, one of the songs that we sang was Jesus at the center, and I used to sing it in conflict times. I'll be like, Jesus at the center, you're at the center of this marriage. Please take control, take the wheel.
I was just trying to do what Jesus wanted us to do. Isn't it amazing though that that you want God to lead, and He's going to lead, and you're not going to like it at first, and you're going to have to wait for Him to finish what He's doing for you to even get a clue. To get a clue. To get a clue, because God's picture is always so much bigger than ours. And if you get married and you've committed yourselves to God, man, when God was talking to Abraham about children, He was telling him, so one day, your descendants will become slaves in Egypt. He was talking about things that were going to happen after Joseph has gone to Egypt. Do you see that? This is like generations ahead, and they'll be slaves there. And then after 400 years, I will rescue them. That's God's perspective. It is big so big. He's talking about hundreds of years. We'll be lucky to reach 100 years in our life, you know? So, yeah, the promise God is going to give us today is going to be concerning something that's going to take a while for it to start to happen. And we only get to see a clue of it. It will be such a sad life if we are so anxious about the things that we can control that we disobey God trying to control things and then miss out on the small clue of eternity that He had given us the opportunity to see while we're here now. Habakkuk 2:3 says the vision is for an appointed time. It speaks of the end and it will not prove false. And then my favorite part, it says, though it linger, wait for it, because it will certainly come and it will not be late.
Wow.
Like it actually says, it looks like it's taking long, but you wait because it's going to come. And when it comes, it will not be late.
On time.
And I think that's part of the process is we work through the conflict, we work through the tensions, but hopefully our hearts are never absent from God's work in our lives so that we can actually become new people as He changes us.
Amazing, amazing. And I would like to know, there may be people who are going through the same situation, where the wife is earning more and maybe the husband is in ministry or whatever situation it is, How do you manage your finances so that you are a team? Like practically, how does that look like? If you can share a few examples, so that it helps people out there like, yeah, okay, but how does that even look like?
Yeah. Well, I think like to get to, if talking about finances is hard, communicating is hard. And what you're going to want to do is to first become better at communicating, because the finance part of it is the hard part. Like there are levels, The
levels of hardness. The levels of hard.
The levels of hardness. Yeah. And part of that learning is like you have to appreciate each other's backgrounds. I came from a completely different background. My parents, their provision for us and what we went through, very different from Sharon's. And it gave us a certain perspective towards what's possible. And they're my parents. So I've grown up with them. And so there are things about what they have modeled and opportunities they have presented for us that I understand over a period of 20 some years, 30 now years, that is within my identity. Okay? For me to carry all of that and say, look, just trust me, this is how it's going to work, is really unfair because I wasn't in her life throughout that learning. And so part of learning how to communicate is appreciating just the difference of perspective that is at the foundation of all the tension before we start talking about the future. Now, having said all of that, once we've gotten into communicating, there are so many spaces, groups, communities that have models, tools, okay, and solutions that you can try out. There are people who have percentages. Okay, if you distribute your income in these percentages, you're setting up a foundation that looks this type of way. Maybe, you know what, give, generosity. What we do, how much do we do? 15? We do 15%, save 20%, basic needs at home, 40%, and then put the rest. We have a school fees thing as well. I've not just said numbers, I'm going to get confused. But like you have your breakdowns, you can do that. And if you understand it and you trust it, the process, and you try to work it out, it could help bring a bit of order to the process. Now, the model one person gives you could work for you. It may not work. And someone else has a different model. So my current favorite thing to tell Sharon these days is that, you know, after you've been married for 30 years, when people say, how have you gotten there? Whatever you say is going to be true as long as it is your true story.
It's yours.
But it does not mean that you'll work for whoever is listening. The thing is, we've managed to get to where we are now, almost 12 years. And the things that have worked for us to get to where we are, worked for us. Both the tensions and what. But we got to 11 years. But just because we got to 11 years, it doesn't mean that it's the only thing that can work. There is another couple that's going to get to 20 years, and they'll say, you know what, the thing that helped us to get 20 years in marriage, the secret that will help your marriage is this one thing. And then you'll be like, can't relate with that. We've never had this problem. How is that a thing, you know? But that's their story. And I think the best thing we can contribute to people is our story as authentically as we can, so that they can learn from it and see what they can imitate. But in terms of like trying to get a balance on the finance thing, I would say like find a system that you can commit to together. And if you can commit to it together, then you have an opportunity to evaluate it, if it's working, and then improve it. Someone else can start from whatever you've found, and then, you know, diversify based on that. But there's so many good tools around of how you can work on your income, you know. I used to tell Sharon, look, the problem is not that we're spending too much. The problem is that we're not making enough. So let's make
let's look for more money. Let's look for more money.
That's how money is. It wants to be spent. If you say I'm not going to spend money, then people will get sick. Then the money you didn't want to spend
goes.
You can't spend it. Money just wants to be spent. You get it? Even when you're not trying to spend it. So to have a system that you can commit to, that meets your needs to get towards the vision that you're trying to build, will put you in a good growing position, I think.
Amazing. Sharon, anything you have to add? Some practical ways that you're doing it?
Practical ways. I think like you mentioned, we agreed on percentages of how income comes in. Like through the salary, we both have individual accounts. We agreed on percentages, like you mentioned, giving, school fees. People have different things. Some say just expenses, block amounts, but I wanted to go to the nitty gritty. So I'll be like, we have a school fees account, you have a operating expense. OPEX, as we call it, OPEX. We have a savings, we have investment, and
savings and investment is the same.
Saving and investment, but now I'll split it in the middle when we mention that part. But so I think having structured systems which you both agreeing to, like when the Bible says, how can two walk together unless they agree? So I think it's important that you pray for unity as a couple. Even in these spaces, sometimes it takes long to get there, but I've seen God has been faithful like Nelson mentioned, it was hard for him before to talk about it, but we reached a time when we could talk about it. We agreed on these, percentages, and we stick to it. When money comes, it's just automatic. The different accounts, some of them are in his names, some are joint, some are separate, and it's currently working for us. Will it evolve? Most probably, as the vision grows and changes like that. I think also putting ourselves in spaces where we are learning. This journey, I think you can never stop learning. So I felt like I remember at some point when we were at Worship Harvest, I did a straightforward financial growth thing with Pastor Angela Okulo, putting yourself in spaces where you're growing, because the more you grow as an individual, you're able to provide a healthy kind of environment for your family to also grow in different spaces. Maybe it's parenting, maybe it's finances and things like that. So it's something that we are both very intentional, I think, about in navigating that or doing that. And God. I don't know how people do it without God. Whoever is out there and doesn't have God, I would like to encourage you.
Please find Him.
Find Him and stick by Him, because He's honestly the only one that makes this possible.
And can I just add to all of that? Jesus says in Matthew 6:25, don't worry about your life.
What you will eat.
What you will eat, what you will wear. He says, isn't life more than these things? I think part of the process of learning to trust God is to realize that He already knows everything. And a scripture I've been sharing with Sharon this week, Philippians 4, where Paul says to the Philippians that my God will provide your need. My God will provide your need according to His riches in glory. And there was this thought that my God will provide your need, like He'll solve the needs that you have, right? But He'll also provide your need. He'll give you problems that need a solution. He'll provide your need. Because if you're going to grow, see, before there was the collective UG, it was maybe, we have a family and this is our need, is what is home. And now God has given us this ministry burden. So you're like, okay, now we need, there are all these people that are going to come. Now we need more food. And who gave us that need? God. My God provided that need. And God who provides the need can provide for the need according to His riches in glory. And we can miss out on God opportunities because I'm trying to worry about my life and I'm missing out on God's purpose. So as a couple in life, doing life together, there's purpose that God has for you. And the wisest thing you can do is do what God wants you to do. Even when it makes absolutely no sense.
Obedience. Because
within that obedience, God who provided the need will also provide for the need. His providence follows His instruction.
Yeah, and from what you're sharing, what I'm picking and what you shared is together. Doing together. Like you mentioned earlier, the money is not just yours, it's now for all of us. If I'm working for us in this season, it's for all of us. And that's a key thing, especially for women to hear, because it can be hard when culture and society has, instilled that the man should do everything. Now he becomes our source. And we forget that our source is God.
God is our
source.
And
when we look to the man for our source, then he fails every expectation because he cannot meet it. So I've really loved that. And maybe you can share, knowing what you know now, some mistakes that you made along the journey, on this journey of earning more, of ministry taking over, and what mistakes did you make? Knowing what you know now.
Well, I think anything you do quietly is always going to be a mistake.
Quietly. I like that.
Everything you do quietly is always going to be a mistake, however brilliant it is. Because in that quiet action, you said, I no longer trust you. And recovering from that can be really, really difficult. Anything done quietly, it can be problematic. The temptation is high.
So you mean quietly, like not telling
Said,
about it?
You know what? This thing is not going, I'm just going to go and do this thing. When it has worked out, I'll say, you see. never ends well, because even when the product is good, it just communicates a lack of trust. And that one is really hard to undo.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So just anything done quietly. For sure, we did a couple of quiet things. I did my quiet things, she did her quiet things, and none of them ever brought good news. Oh, look at this quiet thing I did, see? It was just like, so you mean you didn't trust me?
Yeah.
Enough to tell me, you know? There is like, I did it quietly so that I could surprise you. And that was a true intent. And those true intents, like you feel them. But when it was just, I didn't trust you.
I didn't trust.
That's the only thing that remains.
I get you. Yeah.
I just didn't trust you.
Sharon.
Mistakes, I don't know. It's a very hard question. Mistakes. I think sometimes I feel like half of the things I was doing by mistake. Like, this is a mistake. Why did you do that? I would say trying to know everything, yet we're just starting. I don't know how to explain it. Like, trying to have everything figured out there and then. I think sometimes it becomes, you put yourself on so much pressure. If maybe your spouse, you're like, I need to know, when are we building? I remember I used to tell Nelson, when are we building? And I think sometimes also it's pressure from outside. Like, when you get married, year two is when you build. Year three, okay, I'm just
okay.
No,
I was going to be like, wow. Year two. We are behind.
This is not the expectation, honestly. But sometimes I think because of the pressures of the world, society pressures, it can be your own internal pressure as well. It could be maybe family pressures. You have, there's sometimes a sense, I think for especially women, where you want certain things to come, to be fixed, or you know where this is, we're going here. Yet at the end of the day, God calls us to just trust Him daily. Daily.
Step by step.
It's a daily obedience of God. Today, this is where we're planned, but daily we're going to choose to walk with You. We're going to choose to listen to You, to guide us through this and navigate life. Because I feel like sometimes I would put Nelson on so much pressure. In hindsight, when I think about it, like, it wasn't necessary. Could it be better? Yes. But we put ourselves in so much pressure. And I pray that we can learn not to put on ourselves that much pressure and just allow God to lead the way, to guide us as we commit our ways to Him, commit each and every plan to Him. God gives us the wisdom to actually navigate life. And we need to not put on ourselves that much pressure. So I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
That's
and I know sometimes when we tell people, God will guide the way, trust in Him. Those are nice things. But when you're in that thing, you're just like, but what can I do? Like, now, you get this thing is seeming so, frustrating. And, so I know it sounds cliche, but it's what it is.
It is what it is.
It's what it is.
You
have to trust every step of the way. And the fact that you are together, commit that you have come together and it's going to work. These things happen. The dynamic is different. Doesn't look like what you planned, in mind as you were getting married. Oh, you wanted this whole picture of how your marriage would be. And God has other plans. But so what's your response to it? I think I really love that. Okay. So as
you have your whole life to figure it out.
Together.
You're going to be there together. And if it's something that you've committed to do together, because sometimes I think once you have the thing of divorces in the mind, it's easy for you to find ways out. And you're like, okay, now this is where I stop. Now let us move.
Because some things actually, what's the word? If you tell someone ordinary, be like, that's a great reason, Wama. Like it seems like, when you're fighting, and
it's a reason for you to.
Indeed. How?
But that will be an issue if the foundation was not good. Like if you were not friends from the beginning, then exit strategies are important.
Right.
And your friends are supportive of your exit strategy because the person you're exiting from is not their friend. But if you are separating from someone who is our friend, there is no way we are encouraging it. And there's no way we are supporting.
Because those people want the marriage
to want it to work.
Not just supporting individuals, they want
the union to make sense. There is no way Sharon can go to Faithful, her friend, and tell her the wildest things about me, and Faithful says that sounds normal. She's going to be like, because Faithful is my friend too, she's going to be like, really? Mel, that doesn't sound like him. There is no way I'm going to go to my friend Tom and say, you know what, Sharon, and Tom will be like, really? Sharon, are you sure? Maybe there's something you need to check about yourself. That foundation is essential. When the tensions come in, it eliminates that enmity from becoming the solution. Instead, the relationship is the solution, and you're trying to work your way back together.
I love that. I love that. So as we conclude, are there some final thoughts you'd like to tell ladies who are in your position? And then you tell the men as well who are in your position how to, a few tips to help us navigate.
A few tips on how to navigate. One of the things maybe I would say to ladies, I know there's an understanding that men are the providers and everything, but God one. Like, I can't emphasize that God is our source. God is the source of each and everything that we own as a couple. If you're planning to get married, look to God. Let him give you the wisdom, even when having the conversations about finances if you must. But remember that God is our source. Whether it's through your husband, it's through you as the wife, God has equipped you to be able to, in that season, to be able to provide, and you should not have any qualms about it. I know society says otherwise, but I honestly would like to believe that God is our source and we look to him, not our husbands and things like that. I would also want to say that immerse yourself in a community. Communities are important. Fellowship. You know, when the Bible talks about don't give up the habit of meeting one with another. Fellowship before marriage and even in marriage. I feel like it has really helped, because there would be times when I would go and be like, this is my problem. Then you go and hear somebody else has said the same problem. And you're like, okay, maybe mine wasn't even so terrible. How did you manage? And you're able to get courage and hope that, things will get better. It's just a season, understanding seasons of life, but communities help also in that aspect. And I would say, what else can I say? Women. Choose the right person, a person who loves God, make the right choices.
That one is nice.
It's easy for you to go with feelings, but marry a man who loves God and who is submitted to God. It's very difficult.
And when you marry a man who loves God and is submitted to God, don't be surprised by the adventure that comes with it.
I know. Just go. You've asked for a man who loves God.
Follow. Don't be surprised. Because a man who loves God is going to be on an adventure.
And Nelson keeps saying, we're going on an adventure. I'm like, this adventure, where are we going to next? But marry somebody who is submitted to God and has a heart for God, who is ready to.
Love that. Neil.
I mean, I'll say the same thing. If you are a young man and the season of your life is difficult, God is your source, and you can only give what he has given you to give. So you've got to be available to receive from him, and you've got to be generous to give what he has given you, the way he has given you to give it. And as long as you're doing that, then you're going to provide leadership, you're going to provide vision, and that's all that you need to be. The one who is following God and leading the people God has given you to the places that he wants them to go to. And the rest will worry about itself. It really does. Let me tell you, we've seen God's hand. It's so strong, so mighty. When Jesus says that, by worrying, did you add even any hair to your head? Like, I'm going to worry until my hair turns brown. You can't do it. You can't control those types of things. But in Eugene Peterson's interpretation of the Bible, when he's referencing that same scripture, Matthew 6, I think it's verse 30, he says, what I'm trying to do is to get you to relax, not to be preoccupied with getting, so you can respond to God's giving. And you don't want the flavor of your life to be, I was preoccupied with getting and I missed out on what God was giving. Because for me to receive what God is giving, I have to be empty and available. And then that's all I have to lead with. And then it is in that context of God's giving that I will see the scripture come true. God will provide all of your need. My God will provide all of your need according to his riches in glory, not according to your hustle.
I know, and your hard work and,
Yeah, all of that is good.
Yeah.
But it is not a substitute. It is good in obedience. Like I'm working hard, I'm hustling in obedience to God. And then you'll see his providence. And his providence is incredible. Yeah.
And you can attest, really, amazing. Thank you guys for sharing vulnerably. I know it's not many people will be open about such things, and yet we need to have these conversations because they happen.
Yeah.
It is life and people are going through them, but how can we navigate them better and wiser? So thank you so much. I appreciate you. Guys, I hope you've picked something. Me, I was learning that we are in this thing together.
100.
It's not about you as a wife alone and you as a husband alone, but how do you navigate these things? And, trusting God.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Lisa Kusima. I'm here to inspire. After 4 years of creating content, I'm excited to launch my website. I've been creating content on marriage, dating, womanhood, motherhood, and everything family that has impacted lots of lives. I've also been able to create digital products that have helped you with managing your house helps, breakfast recipes, helping with your marriages, creating content, right, and so much more. And I'm excited to announce that I'm bringing you the ultimate Christian dating guide. You guys have been saying that the dating streets are ghetto and you're frustrated, with dating the wrong people, things don't work out. I am here to help prepare you for the dating journey. Even when you're on the dating journey, I want to make it easier so that you can date purposefully and hopefully find the one. Because when we date wrong, we marry wrong. And we all know where that leads. So check out my website, www.lisakusima.com, and you'll get access to all my digital products, including the ultimate Christian dating guide. I am here for you. I can't believe we actually have a website. Yay! So please run while the offer lasts. It's 10% off everything. Try it today.